Hello, welcome back to Beyond the Sold Sign Real Estate Unplugged. We are your hosts and favorite realtors, Naya
and Lauren.
And we are so excited to be back, not only with a new episode, but we are back for season 2 today.
Yay.
And if you've been following, you'll notice that with season 2, we have a new backdrop, a new background. We've got some photos and just some glitz and glam to level up for season 2.
Yes, spice it up a little bit. Why not?
So if you're new here, we definitely encourage you to go back and watch season 1. But just to give you a little summary, on this podcast, you will find stories where we will share tips, whether you are a new home buyer, an investor, or someone who's just curious about what's going on in the real estate world. We're sharing stories and tips so that you can be successful.
Yes.
So Lauren's going to get us started with today's story.
Yes, let's get into it. So, all right. When I decided to start looking for a home, I knew I needed a real estate agent to guide me through the process. I found an agent through a friend's recommendation. And during our first meeting, the agent seemed knowledgeable and enthusiastic, and I felt confident he would help me find the perfect home. All right, guys. So this story was actually submitted by a first-time home buyer who ended up having an unexpected turn when she had to fire her realtor. Let's get into it. When I decided to start looking for a home, I knew I needed a real estate agent to guide me through the process. I found an agent through a friend's recommendation. During our first meeting, the agent seemed knowledgeable and enthusiastic, and I felt confident he would help me find the perfect home. However, things didn't go as smoothly as I had hoped. The first red flag appeared when he started showing me homes that were way out of my budget. I had clearly told him my maximum budget was $300,000, but he kept insisting on showing me houses in the $350,000 range. I felt pressured and uncomfortable, but I brushed it off, thinking he might know something that I didn't. Communication was another major issue. I often had to wait days for a response for my emails and calls. Once I found a listing online that I was very interested in and immediately contacted my agent, it took him 3 days to get back to me, and by then the house had already gone under contract. I was frustrated and felt like I was missing out on opportunities because of his slow responses. Another time, we scheduled a full day of viewings. I took time off work and was excited to see the homes. When the day arrived, he showed up late and didn't have a key to one of the properties. We ended up missing 2 appointments because of his lack of preparation. I began to question his reliability and professionalism. One of the biggest issues was that he didn't seem to listen to my needs and preferences. I wanted a home with a big backyard because I have a dog, and I mentioned this several times. Yet, he kept showing me properties with tiny, unfenced yards. It felt like he wasn't paying attention to what I wanted and was just trying to make a quick sale. The final straw came when we found a house I loved. It was within my budget, in a great neighborhood, and had the backyard I wanted. We put in an offer, but he didn't follow up with the seller's agent in a timely manner. Another buyer swooped in with a higher offer, and I lost the house. I was heartbroken and furious. I realized I couldn't continue working with someone who was so careless and professional. I decided it was time to fire him. It wasn't an easy decision, but it was pretty easy. But I knew I had to do it. I called him and explained that I was unhappy with his service and that I would be looking for a new agent. He was surprisingly understanding and apologized for his mistakes. I did my research and found a new agent. From the beginning, she was everything I needed in a real estate agent. She listened to my needs, communicated properly, and was always prepared. Within a month, I found my dream home, made an offer, and it was accepted. The entire process was smooth and stress-free.
Well,
I just feel like that was a tough decision for her to fire the agent, but it wasn't the wrong decision.
Right.
At the end of the day, because as a home buyer, it's important to have an agent who listens, communicates, acts in your best interest. And if you're not happy with your agent, don't be afraid to let them know. And also don't be afraid to let them go.
Right.
Because then you're the only one being hurt in this situation because the agent most likely already has a house. Right. So they're trying to help you find one. And if they already have one, they may not be too concerned about, yours. So you just want to make sure that they have your best interest at heart.
Right. And she said it got to the point where she felt like she was missing out on opportunities because he was slow to respond. Mm-hmm. It's Time is of the essence. And like you said, she was right. She was right. Although she probably didn't, want to have to fire him, she was right to do that because she was beginning to miss out on opportunities. And having the expectation that your realtor is going to communicate well, like respond, be on top of it when it's time to go to showings, like that is a fair and reasonable expectation. So, he wasn't meeting those expectations, which are pretty simple and fair. So she was right to, move on from him.
Yeah. And in this market, like there is no like waiting. You cannot wait. Not now. It's very like, hey, as soon as a house comes on the market, you kind of got to just go see it within a day, usually within 24 to 48 hours max. After that's over, there's no like, oh, let's see if we can wait a few days to put in an offer. You don't get that opportunity. There is no few days. The few days were the first 2 days it's on the market, and then offers are coming in. So you just got to be very proactive. And it seems like he wasn't doing that. So again, it was right.
Yeah.
So how do you choose the right agent?
That's good. I think obviously there's tools like if we're just going to a restaurant, you might look up the reviews or something. So that can be helpful. In this case, it's interesting though, because she got this realtor from a friend's recommendation. Right. And I know like for us, a lot of the people that we work with are referrals from past clients from their friends and family. So that's kind of like, oh, that was disappointing, right? For her friends to recommend him, probably because they had a good experience with him. So normally you can, vet and trust that if a realtor worked with a friend or family member of yours, that they will also be fitting for you. But, sometimes that might not be the case. So, you can still read reviews. If you're into social media, maybe looking at social media or giving them a call and just having that initial conversation and seeing how the conversation and the vibe goes is a good, sign if, you both will communicate well and you guys are just kind of like on the same page.
Absolutely. And then interviewing other agents
to compare,
compare, because somebody, you may call someone, they may answer the phone right away, where another agent may not answer the phone for a few hours. You may be like, I don't really, if that's how you're starting out with a new client, then I know, if I'm just a regular client, that I may not hear from you for a few hours, but that agent that you interviewed that was very quick on their feet, they communicated very well, quickly, properly, that may be somebody that you may want to go with. But then it's like, dang, were they just playing? Like, were they just putting on a little front and you communicated well in the beginning? And as we went through the process, your communication kind of dwindled a little bit. Like what?
Right. That could be the case. Yeah, right. Because, they can interview well and tell you that they're going to communicate and be prompt. And then you don't know that they're not going to actually follow through with that until you get to working with them and you see that they don't follow through. So, it's kind of like do a little bit of research, kind of feel them out. But of course, you don't know exactly until you're working with them sometimes. So it's okay to, if you get to the point where communication isn't going well, it's not working, it's okay to fire them and, look for someone else.
Yeah. And then how can you fire an agent?
So, well, they didn't talk about the buyer's agreement in here, but when you're working with a realtor, you will sign a buyer. You should. And as of July 1, you have to, absolutely. You will sign a buyer agreement, buyer representation agreement, which means that you and this realtor are in agreement that this realtor is representing you for your real estate transaction. So in that contract, there is a line that will say, buyer has right to terminate this contract by written notice. And then the realtor can also terminate the contract and decide not to work with you. So it is equal rights on both sides. Both parties can decide to terminate the contract of working together.
Which is nice. I like that. And there's no charge.
Yeah, fee. And sometimes it might be a client. That's just not working for you. So
I'm like, I'm good.
It's fair.
Yeah. Because, some people you like, this is not, the vibes just aren't there. Because we're also interviewing, because we also don't have to work with every client that wants to work with us. We are blessed enough to have the opportunity that we can choose who we want to work with. And not necessarily just because we're like out here picking. It's just that, you know, if your attitude or, you know, if it just doesn't align, because we are very positive people. And if for some reason you just are always negative and you just don't have anything positive to say, it just may not work for our team, unfortunately. We can refer you to someone that may have the same style as you, but it just may not work for us.
Right.
And so we can also fire you, which is okay. So then you have setting a clear like budget and you know, like your boundaries.
Yes.
That's like a big one because you want to
so like I was gonna say the budget, hearing that he was showing her homes like just all outside of her budget, that is so like, I don't know if inappropriate is the word, but that is not okay.
No.
And even when we have clients with, you know, budgets and they're like, you know, I don't want to go over this, I am a fan of, it's not just about like a quick sell for us. Like I want you to be comfortable and, you know, feel good about this commitment to this payment that you'll have on the home. And like I encourage looking under your budget. Like just because the budget is 300,000, okay, we might be finding the things that are checking the boxes for you with the backyard and stuff at 280 or 275. Just because it's 300,000 doesn't mean we have to, you know, only see $300,000 homes. We might be able to find that underneath there. And yeah, you just shouldn't shop at the top of the budget anyway. And it was not appropriate for him to, I don't want to say intentionally, but it wasn't right for him to repeatedly only be showing her homes outside of her budget when she made it clear what her budget was.
Yeah, that I feel like that's
she felt pressured and uncomfortable.
Yeah, because that's not his decision to make.
Right. Or he's not funds that's paying for
or your funds. You're not the one. You are not the one paying it. Us as realtors, like we're not the ones paying your mortgage. So we want to make sure when you are at the settlement table that you're very comfortable. And most likely you have a pre-approval. So if your pre-approval was $350,000. But you told your realtor, I only want to spend $300 because based on the numbers that maybe her lender gave her, $300,000 is where she felt the most comfortable staying because that is where her monthly mortgage payment was the most comfortable. But even though and he may have been looking at her pre-approval, like you're pre-approved for this $350, then you should
do more.
No,
you know what I can do.
You don't. Right. I don't want to do more. Just because I'm approved for it does not mean you have. Just like Naya said, does not mean you have to spend that amount. You spend however much you want to spend, and your realtor needs to respect that because they're not the ones paying your mortgage every single month.
Exactly.
So that shouldn't be right. And then in this market right now, it should be definitely less because you're most likely going to have to offer a little bit over asking. So to ensure that you do not go over your budget, like Naya said, you may want to look at things that are like 280, 285. So that way, if the house is in a lot of competition, you'll have to go ahead and maybe go over asking a little bit, but it won't be over the $300,000 that you wanted to spend.
Right. Exactly. So, you know, definitely don't feel bad about having a budget and having a boundary with that budget and, you know, keep communicating that. Hopefully you don't have to communicate it repeatedly because, you know, you shouldn't have to. Your realtor should respect what your budget and your boundary is with that. But again, if it's not working and that's not what you're getting, then, you know, seek looking possibly for another realtor to work with.
Yes, ma'am. Seek elsewhere. Okay. And then communication. It seems like she communicated her needs, but like you were saying, the boundaries, but staying in regular contact with your realtor.
Oh, that communication.
Yeah, that type of communication is very important. Staying because you need to know the market. You need to know what's going on. Like your realtor should be sending you homes and they should be saying, hey, is there anything you want to see? Like I feel like if our clients are active, like they are like actively looking in the market, we're talking to them probably 3 to 4 times a week. Like
we're outside.
We are outside. We are very much outside. We are outside and we are communicating with them and hey, this just came on the market. Do you want to see this? Like we're hitting them as soon as we see something that's coming soon or coming on the market so that they can be the first ones that get out there because we want our clients to win.
Exactly. It's like, okay, you like these homes. When is your availability? We're scheduling. Like we are communicating. Yeah. And we're outside.
Very much so.
As soon as, you know, the homes that you like, once we got that together, we're literally outside. So yeah, you need to definitely have a realtor that is going to be communicating with you, be consistent in that communication. I remember one of my buyers, they told me this after we closed on their home, but this was like they tried shopping again after the COVID kind of competition. So this was like end of 2021, and the realtor that they were working with did not communicate well. And she was like, a top, great reviews. She did not communicate, she wasn't consistent and like ready to go as they were ready to go. So like it would take days for her to respond.
So she wasn't moving at their pace.
She wasn't moving at their pace, or I don't think taking them seriously maybe. And in that market, when they were originally looking, when it was super low rates and super crazy busy, you have to be on top of it. And so they were telling me after we closed, like, we appreciate how much you communicated because we did not have that before with the last realtor. So yeah, people have fired realtors and then come to us and had a great experience. So,
come on over.
Come on over if you need some support.
And then, and like following up, just a simple follow up, like the realtor itself, and not only following up as a realtor, not only following up with your clients, but she mentioned in here that she lost out on an offer because her realtor did not follow up with the other agent, with the listing agent. The one thing you do is when you're submitting an offer is you call the listing agent just to introduce yourself, find out if they have any other offers, find out if there's an offer deadline, find out what the sellers are looking for in an offer that will make your offer stronger. If you can't even follow up with the other agent, you can't do your job well enough for me, especially if I'm a buyer. Problem is, a lot of first-time home buyers just don't know that.
Exactly.
That's why we're here, to kind of help you and give you these little tips.
Your realtor should not just be submitting the offer via email and never hitting their phone.
Ever. Not even a follow-up with a quick text. Hey, just send the offer over to your email.
Yeah, like
something.
As soon as I hear the ping in my email, I should see the ping in my text or call that you are reaching out as well.
And I know the realtor didn't have the lender call the listing agent because they didn't get the offer. The lender should be calling the listing agent and letting them know how strong the buyer's financing is. And the person who connects in, who kind of sets that up, is the buyer's agent.
Yes. So if he wasn't communicating, he ain't had other people communicate.
That part, yeah.
So yeah, communication is key for all parties. And again, if you're not getting that, then you may need to explore other options.
Yeah, which is fair.
Which is very fair. I think this person gave it a fair try. She's like, okay, first it was this thing, but we kept going. Then it was this thing, then it was this thing. So I think she, wanted it to work, but just she had to do what she had to do to get a home.
Yeah.
Or she would have been all day waiting on him.
And I'm glad she did. So kudos to you. Yeah. So I hope we answered some of your questions that you may have had and kind of broke down the story a little bit. And we still think you did a great job. So thank you for submitting the story. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
So that's a wrap.
That's a wrap for today's episode. Thank you so much for sharing and submitting. We hope that everyone who tunes in gets to get some good info from this, and make sure that you are following us on all of our social media. So that's Instagram, TikTok. We are also on YouTube. So hopefully you're watching this visual, and on Spotify, Google, and Apple.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. So yes, make sure you are following all the things, like, comment, subscribe, and share, and we will see you next week.
Bye.